Coming up in this episode, the football photographer who captured iconic images of Cloughie.
Well, I was summoned, as usual, by Cloughie's secretary, Carol, to be at the boss's house Sunday, and they'd got the Littlewoods Cup and the Simod Cup. So I'd done some photographs of Brian with his family and the cups. And I thought, I wouldn't mind one of these myself, actually. So I got my camera on a tripod and I asked Simon, who's Nigel Clough's brother, to take the photograph.
And how about getting a lift back from Wembley on the team coach?
Cloughie turned to me and said, "How did you get here, young man?" And I said, "I came down with the office staff," and said, "Would you like to come back with the team? Get yourself on the bus." So I was actually sitting behind Brian Clough, who had his own seat, right next to Albert, the driver.
You'll also hear why Cloughie was the perfect subject when it came to taking headline-grabbing photos.
Well, I think there was the opportunity to do something different because Cloughie was predictably unpredictable, actually. So he could switch the smile on. He could be really grumpy and telling somebody off, and then you go, "Brian, ready?" and he'd turn and go, bing, and smile. And you would never have realised he was... not in a happy frame of mind.
All that and many more behind-the-scenes stories you won't want to miss.
Hello, it's Simon Clough here. This is the Green Jumper podcast with Macus Alton.
My guest for this episode is a man who's responsible for many iconic photographs of Brian Clough. In fact, he was the official photographer at Nottingham Forest during Cloughie's amazing success at the City Ground, and it's John Sumpter. It's lovely to see you.
And you, Marcus.
Well, we've been looking through some of your old photos from the archives here, and I think we have to start with the Simod Cup final. It was around 1989, I think it was, and you went down to Wembley with the team, and when they won, you were actually allowed into the dressing room.
Yes, I was. I took the opportunity to come off the pitch with Nigel Clough, which got me access through the stewards and into the dressing room where Brian Clough was holding court, and numerous photographs were taken and numerous drinks were consumed, of course. So Cloughie had all sorts of guests coming in who had to have photographs with him and the cup.
And there's one here that we're looking at. He's got his green jumper on and arms round Stuart Pearce.
He has, yes, and Maurice Rose, the chairman's in there as well, isn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So I went all the way around the dressing room taking photographs of each player or players with the cup.
Yeah, and if we're looking at, this is in the centre pages of the match against Millwall in May '89, and it's the headlines, "Those Wembley Celebrations." This is the Littlewoods Cup we're looking at now.
We went twice that year, didn't we, by the looks of it? So
I
I got fed up with going to Wembley, to be honest. I think we went 7 times. It was okay going there, but getting out was a nightmare coming back. So I actually came back one year with the team at Cloughie's invitation on the team coach.
That was the Littlewoods Cup final?
Yeah.
So these pictures that we're looking at now are some of the backroom staff here on the coach.
Well, we've got Archie Gemmell, we've got Graham Lyas, who's the physio, and then on the other side of the table is Paul White, who's the club secretary, and Liam O'Kane. So I was actually sitting behind Brian Clough, who had his own seat, right next to Albert, the driver. And Cloughie was selecting the music as we drove out of the... But Buddy Holly, that was it. I always think of Buddy Holly. When Albert put a tape in and he put Buddy Holly on, and as we drove out the tunnel on the coach, that was playing Buddy Holly tune. So we set off up the motorway and it was heaving with traffic, so we were crawling along. But it was very entertaining, shall we say.
Yeah. And did you manage to have a chat with Cloughie at all on the coach?
Well, I was talking to him, not with him, and I got told to shut up on certain terms. He'd put me off the bus if I talked anymore. So I thought I'd better be discreet, and I moved to the back of the coach where all the players were making a row and having a few drinks, and sat with them and took, as you can see, took photographs with them waving the cup and looking very happy.
Yeah. How did you come to actually get on the team coach? Because he was quite selective, wasn't he, on who he allowed to travel with the team?
Yes, well, I'd gone down with the commercial office on the staff coach and had lunch with them at the hotel right next to Wembley Stadium. They won the game and I got in the dressing room, as I said, and finished taking photographs, and Cloughie turned to me and said, "How did you get here, young man?" And I said, "I came down with the office staff," and said, "Would you like to come back with the team? Well, as a Forest fan, there are not many invitations like that. So get yourself on the bus. So I ended up sitting right behind him and was chattering away and got told to shut up, as I said.
But you took the opportunity to go to the back of the bus, and yeah, as we've seen now in the archives, some fantastic photos with the players. Now, there's another one that goes back to about 1980. Now, a really famous one with Cloughie wearing what is actually a bag saying Big Head, and he's wearing it on his head. You took this one. He's sitting next to Peter Taylor. What's the background to that?
Right, well, I was given the opportunity to go down and take some pictures of Peter Taylor and Brian Clough as a test to see if I was up to the quality was fine, because they were looking for another photographer. So I got down at the designated time and ushered into the boardroom, and Clough and Taylor were sat there, and they just won the league. So it's 78, so the league trophy's there. So I did shots of them, and their families as well, actually, I seem to remember. Then Cloughie suddenly appeared with this big head hat. It's a hat or a bag.
Yes.
So he's got that on his head, so that was referring to old Big Head. So I passed the test, and Peter Taylor said, this could be the biggest break you've ever had. Not realising I was going to be there for 40-odd years. So,
Yeah, never look back, really. Yeah, it's fantastic. Whose idea was it to put it on his head? Did he just go along with it?
Yeah, so I soon realised you could actually ask him to do things. And he hated ditherers. So he was more than happy to do what you wanted, but not be rude to him, but be positive. And one quick little anecdote. When adverts started appearing around the ground, Brian Clough had one in the corner of the West Bridgeford end, right in the far corner on the main stand, and it said Brian Clough Limited. And I think it was the Daily Mail asked me to be there on the Saturday before the game to photograph him with the board. So I turned up at 10 a.m. and it actually snowed overnight, and we walked across the pitch to this sign which said Brian Clough Limited. And he stood in front of it, and I said, that's not working, Brian. He said, what do you mean? I said, I need you to be behind the sign. What's a concrete wall there at the time? So he said, what, behind? I said, yeah. He literally vaulted over the wall and leant, I'm demonstrating now, with his arms on top of the sign.
Yeah.
And that was the picture that was in the Daily Mail. And it said, Brian Clough Limited, otherwise known as Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
So we walked back across the pitch into his office and had to have a drink to celebrate the photograph being taken. Yeah. But that was in the Mail on the Monday morning.
So he was okay being directed, shall we say, to get the best photo?
Absolutely. I'd often been told, if you don't tell me where you want me, you won't do the photograph in a minute. I've been sort of ummed and ahed.
Yeah.
So,
Well, talking about being directed, we've got a photo here which is just amazing from one of the match day programmes. It was January 92 it appeared. And he's in his office wearing the green top with a monkey, which is basically a soft toy called Eric the monkey. He's pointing his finger at him because Eric is sitting in his chair. So what's the story behind this one?
Well, the club journalist, John Lawson, said there's a picture opportunity in Cloughie's office. I think this is after a game. It's quite a large toy, actually, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the life size of a monkey, really. So Cloughie's put it in his chair. It's got a cigar in its mouth, and Cloughie's pointing at it, having a laugh and a joke, which I took the photograph. But that was used by the Daily Mirror without my consent, and it was on the back page, half a page illustration in the Mirror on the Monday morning, and I was a bit worried that I'd get in trouble for it. And it said, the caption was, top banana, and there's Cloughie pointing at the monkey and saying things. So I got onto the Mirror, and they said, well, we tried to find you, but we couldn't at the game. So we used it anyway, but I insisted that they paid me, which, to be fair, they did.
Good, yeah.
And Brian Clough never mentioned it. So they offered to write a letter to say I'd not given them permission, but I said, we'll see what happens. And nothing happened to my release. So
he was happy with it, really, I think, yes. Because it says in the programme that this big soft toy monkey that's wearing a flat cap as well was a Christmas present from his daughter Elizabeth, and it had taken up residence in his office. And it starts, the article starts, listen here, you young monkey. if you think you're getting my job, you've got another thing coming. It was probably John Lawson who wrote that, I would think.
Yes, he was the programme editor at the time.
Journalist, yes. Yeah. Obviously, you mentioned about the test, as it were, to see whether you were up to being the photographer. And, of course, you passed that with flying colours. And we've got the first ever team photo, I think you took.
Yes, that was taken 1978, September. And it was actually for a book about Forest and their winning the league. So all the trophies were brought out. So we've got the league title there. We've got Charity Shield. We've got the League Cup, the Bells Manager of the Year award, the PFA award for, I think it was Kenny Burns, Sports Writers Award, which was Peter Shilton. Tony Wilcott's got the Young Player of the Award. So I set all that up, and Cloughie turned to me and said, "Do you play chess, young man?" I said, "I don't, Brian." He said, "It looks like it." And he rearranged all the trophies. I didn't realise it was the Bells Manager of the Year trophy. So that was on the other side of the team group. So that was promptly put where Cloughie was standing.
Yes.
And it's very well arranged, isn't it?
It is, yeah. You're quite proud, really, of how all the players are
symmetrical, isn't
symmetrical, lined up with Burns, Bowyer, Anderson, Barrett and Clark on the very back row, all lined up symmetrically. And Cloughie on the right-hand side, not in a green jumper, but in a blue tracksuit, standing behind his Bells Manager of the Year.
Jimmy Gordon, the trainer come physio, they used to do a multitude of things in those days. He's the one that followed him from Derby, wasn't he?
That's right, yes.
But he was actually working when Cloughie left Derby, he went to work at Rolls-Royce, Jimmy Gordon, and he was working in, I think it was the parts or the spares department at Rolls-Royce. Cloughie came to Forest and promptly got him out to work for him at Forest again. But I think it helped with Forest. Being a Forest fan, I obviously knew all the players. So instead of saying, "Excuse me, Kenny, can you move in a bit?" or "Robbo, down here a bit," and whatever. So
yeah, and the players were always quite cooperative, were they?
Mostly. Of them, yes. Yeah.
Now, you were actually invited into Cloughie's back garden for a photo and ended up with a great photo that you've really kept as a treasured memory yourself. What happened?
Right, well, I was summoned, as usual, by Cloughie's secretary, Carol, to be at the boss's house Sunday. And they'd got the Littlewoods Cup and the Simod Cup. So I'd done some photographs of Brian with his family and the cups. And I thought, I wouldn't mind one of these myself, actually. So I got my camera on a tripod and I asked Simon, who's Nigel Clough's brother, to take the photograph. So he took a picture of me standing next to Brian Clough, and Cloughie actually passed me the Littlewoods Cup and said, "You hold the cup, I'll hold the Simod Cup." So I've nearly got the cup in front of my face, which when Brian saw it, said, "You nearly ruined that look." Yeah. But he signed the photograph, he's put, "John, lots of love, Brian." And that's on his back garden, looks like a football pitch, doesn't it, behind?
It's fantastic. And there he's in his white top and white shorts.
Football shorts and his white trainers. And you think he used to live in those shorts, actually. Apart from when I did go another time.
Yes.
When he got his OBE from the Queen at Buckingham Palace. And again, I was asked to be at his house on the Monday morning. And I was all dressed up in his morning suit, top hat with his award pinned to his lapel, and his wife was there. We did family photographs, and he actually introduced me to Barbara, who I'd never met before. I said, "This is John, he's a proper photographer. The other photographer is Trevor, he's just from the post." Right. So, which went down well.
Had a bit of a laugh,
yes. So there's a nice smiley picture of Brian on his back lawn with a top hat, but he didn't actually have any photographs taken at Buckingham Palace, apparently, which I read in the paper, so it was a nice exclusive for me again.
But another photo, which I didn't realise you'd taken, and it's really become iconic now, the 91 Cup final, where he's being introduced to Princess Diana. And he's shaking hands with her, and he's got both hands clasped round hers. You must be very proud of that.
Well, I am, because I was that close to them in the centre circle. I could actually hear the conversation. And Cloughie's got a rosette saying "the world's greatest grandpa" on his pinned on his lapel. And while he's holding her hand and gazing into her eyes, she said, "Oh, world's greatest grandpa, is that true?" And he went, "Yes, beauty, it is." So Stuart Pearce is listening and Brian Law's smiling as well.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, they didn't get the result that
No.
world wanted. So
No. But a fantastic photo. Yeah, it just wasn't to be, was it? Of course, he's in his suit and tie there, and I think before kick-off he was able to change into his green top, wasn't he?
Yes, he disappeared behind the bench and it was like another, not a tunnel, but at the halfway line. I think he went under the stand and changed into his green tracksuit.
Another one that was a nice family memory for Brian and Nigel. They're both receiving awards, and we've got the black and white version here of them pitch side before a game, and then it was actually a similar photo that you took used on the front page of the match programme against Chelsea, February 1988.
1988, just before kick-off, I was told there was going to be a presentation, to Brian, which is the Bells Manager of the Month. I think he won 7 or 8 of those, actually. And Nigel Clough's got the Player of the Month, was it the Daily Star, I think it was. So there's a picture of Brian holding the whiskey, as you would imagine, and Nigel in his suit, I think he must have been injured, with his trophy from the Daily Star. But then Brian turned to me and said, "I need you in the dressing room, young man." He called everybody young man, to do a picture with me, the whiskey, not Nigel, but the Bells area rep, who was a Scottish bloke, nice bloke. So we walked into the dressing room. I'm sure it's about 5 to 3. I'm playing Liverpool or some of equal importance. And Archie Gemmell looked at me and said, "What are you doing? Have you seen the time?" And I just sort of waved my thumb behind me and said, "It's Brian's decision." Oh, so that went down really well. So I set the team up, did a quick photo with Brian and the area rep.
You must have taken many of these photos, really, where he's receiving Manager of the Month awards. There's another one here with the Barclays Regional Director and a well-known face, Jimmy Greaves, there as well. It must have been quite difficult to make these photos different.
Well, I think there was the opportunity to do something different because Cloughie was predictably unpredictable, actually. So he could switch the smile on. It could be really grumpy and telling somebody off. And then you go, "Brian, ready?" And he turned and go, bing, and smile. And you would never have realised he was not in a happy frame of mind. But that's the Barclays area manager actually was a big Forest fan and actually came. I got him a pass for one game as a keen photographer, and he actually sat near me and photographed one game.
Now, we talked about the photo of you in the garden with Cloughie. There's another one here where you're sort of arm in arm. It looks like at a function.
Yes, this is the, again, Barclays in Nottingham, but it was they had a Young Eagle Award. And Nigel Clough won it one year, and Roy Keane did. Well, I think they got a cheque for £5,000, I think. So there was a reception at Barclays HQ in Nottingham. Cloughie was there, I was there, the posts were there, but there was quite a few of the team were there as well. So it was quite a nice lunch, shall we say, as usual. So we'd had a couple of drinks, and Cloughie was very musical. He was always singing Frank Sinatra songs. Don't have a big Frank Sinatra
Yes.
fan. So he suddenly put his arm in mine and started singing. So the post photographer took that of me, which is normally me on the other side of the camera, isn't it?
So would that have been Trevor then? Trevor
Bartlett. Yeah, who sadly died recently.
Yeah.
But Trevor went on every away trip in Europe for two seasons with Trevor. Cloughie loved him because Trevor used to say daft things, make him laugh all the time. So,
yeah, you're both looking very happy on that photo, and another sort of personal photo here, and he's giving a hug to someone quite special.
Well, yes, that's my son Richie, who's now the club photographer at Forest, home and away and everything. And this is in the dressing room at Wembley. The whole family had gone down. In fact, even my mum went to this with my daughter Richie, who's 5 there or 6, and I'm in the dressing room as usual, taking photographs of Cloughie with his entourage, and I just turned to Liam O'Kane and said, "Can I get my boy in?" And he went, yes, Cloughie. Yeah, bring him in. So I went to the tunnel where my son was standing with the family, and I picked him up over the barrier. He's got a ski jacket because I think it was March actually. Walked into the dressing room, and the first picture is Cloughie said to Richie, "Do you know what a hug is?" So he's hugging Richie. So Richie then took his ski jacket off, and he's got full forest kit on underneath, which I'd forgot. So we went round the dressing room. So there's pictures of Richie with Stuart Pearce, who he'd met previously. Who was on it? Teddy Sheringham, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah.
And they did a picture of Brian sitting on the bench with Richie, my son, and Nigel the other side, with the cup between them. So that was a nice story.
I'm just looking through the archive again, and there's this one, and I've seen it in books and magazines over the years. He's wearing his famous training coat with Umbro on it and with his finger in the air. Can you remember taking that one?
I do, yes. I think the Trent End was singing to him just before the game, so Cloughie's waving to them. But it's a big union man, wasn't he, Cloughie? He's got I think it says Cole, not Dole, the sticker on his jacket. He was very good at communicating with the Trent End. Either telling him to shut up or applauding what they were doing.
Yes, exactly. Well, he did have some interaction with the fans that you were able to take a photograph of. We're going back to sort of 77, 78, when he was being touted as England boss. And then I think he'd put a sign out saying, "No swearing, gentlemen, please, Brian." And then the fans put a sign up saying, "Brian, no leaving, please, the gentleman."
Well, yes, but he's walking past the sign pretending he's not seen it. But that's Derek Page, was it? He was the secretary of the supporters club. Wasn't very involved in most things. And Geoffrey McPherson, is that? Yes, Geoffrey McPherson, who I got on really well with.
And another black and white photo, which I've not seen before, of Trevor Francis, of course, who's no longer with us. He's kneeling on the pitch with his arms out in the air. And you actually managed to get it signed afterwards as well. You must be really proud of that one.
Well, it is. I mean, I think he destroyed, I think it was Ipswich, where he was absolutely phenomenal. He's so quick, and he outpaced the Ipswich defence and was in the top of the roof of the net before they knew. And he's on his hands and knees in front of the Trent End, saluting the fans. And I think he won the game on his own almost for Forest. That's my memory of that one. But I saw him at Forest maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I knew he was coming, and he was with his son, and I took 2 or 3 copies of that, and his son said, "I've not even seen that one before." So he was pleased to get that, and he signed it for me as well. So it's no, nice man as well. I got on really well with Trevor. In fact, I was working for another photographer out at Bingham just prior to working for myself, and he popped in and said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "I've come for a passport photograph." I said, "Where do you live?" And he said, "Sutton-on-Trent." I said, "That's a bit of a trek." He said, "It's out of the way. Nobody knows where I'm living." So he actually came in, paid for a passport photograph, which was nice.
Oh, looking at all these photos, it must give you a huge sense of pride that you were able to capture these sort of magical moments of history, really.
Well, yes, I mean, you don't know how long these things are going to last, do you, really? For 42 years is quite a stint, isn't it? And the glory days, of course. To start in 78 when they won the league, then 79 Europe, 80 Europe, then we had 9 years without winning anything, if you remember. So then we had 89, 90, 91, didn't we?
That's right, yeah.
So it was a good time to start, wasn't it?
It was, excellent. And just to sort of round things off, you were there also for the unveiling of the Cloughie statue in Nottingham, and took some wonderful photos from that day. One of them appeared on the front page of the Matchday programme a few days later, with all the photographers and the crowd round the statue, and there he is, the statue with its hands in the air.
Yes,
do you remember that day?
I do. It's a very lifelike statue, isn't it? And all the family were there who knew me, of course. So it was... In fact, I mentioned Simon Clough, Nigel's brother. I actually did his wedding, so he was there as well, and Libby, Brian's daughter, as well, and a lot of photographers and a lot of people there to see it unveiled.
Just looking at a 2-page spread in that programme, in which it's written in as if Brian's written it himself in his own words, the Clough statue unveiling. But nice to see the pictures of the of the Clough family and the former players as well, with the statue.
Yes, in fact, I'd forgotten that all those players were there as well. I can certainly remember all the family here the statue being unveiled, and a senior policeman trying to move all the photographers out of the way said, "You can't stand there." And so it's the press pen. Yeah. Well, no, we need to get the guests in here. But there was a lot of photographers, so we all refused to move. And he saw common sense eventually.
Yeah. You have to be a bit sort of persuasive and confident, don't you, as a photographer, really, to make sure you get what you need.
I think so, because my father was a wedding photographer, so that was my early training as on weddings, and you have to organise weddings. And I think I transferred that technique over to when I was photographing Brian Clough and footballers.
Yeah. So looking back, how will you sort of remember your days photographing Brian and the team and all those wonderful trophy successes?
As a Forest fan, to be paid to do that and go to places like Madrid and Wembley, you can't buy that, can you? So it's wonderful memories, actually. So, very fondly.
Well, John Sumpter, it's been wonderful reminiscing, looking at all these wonderful images from the archives of those glory years, and you've really encapsulated history marvellously. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Nice talking.
And thanks to you for listening. There's more about John with some of his iconic images on the Tribute website, brianclough.com. Just look for the podcast page. The website also has details about the live Green Jumper events, which are raising money for good causes. You can also buy signed copies of my latest book, Brian Clough, The Lost Tapes, which is supporting 2 charities. And I can sign your copy with a personal message. All my books are available there. They make great gift ideas too. Thanks for your company. I hope you can join me next time for more memories of the great man in the green jumper.